Hey guys, it's Bastian time, and we have got a ton of Zelda news to get through. Not all on this episode. I'm gonna have 3 Zelda news episodes this week because there's just so much of it. So, and I think all 3 days will be back to back just because I want to get through all of this for you guys as fast as possible. So let's get to that first story. So this video will basically focus on A Link Between Worlds because there's just so much stuff that we learned about it, or things related to A Link Between Worlds. So, of course, A Link Between Worlds is the official name for A Link to the Past 2, and a lot of people were wondering, when is this coming out? It wasn't made very clear whatsoever at E3, but in recent interviews, the confirmation has been November. We don't, at this point, have a specific date, but November. So I'm pretty excited for November. I can't even explain it. We learned a new piece of information that Aonuma gave in an interview at E3, wherein the interviewer asked, you know, something along the lines, so is Link Between Worlds, is that the Hyrule going to be identical? And Aonuma said no, and then the reason he gave unearthed a brand new factoid that we didn't know. He said, no, because over time, the landscape will change, and it's been, you know, at least a generation since A Link to the Past. So here we have a new Link and a new Zelda, and hold the phone, what? So I thought for sure in an interview not too long ago, he said that one of the reasons why they were doing this sequel was because they wanted to explore what Link and Zelda were up to in the aftermath after A Link Between Worlds. Maybe I dreamed that, but I swear that that was in an interview. Now we're hearing that it's a brand new Link and Zelda in a generation, at least one generation after A Link to the Past. So I think it makes sense now, because I was wondering, geez, A Link to the Past Link has been on so many adventures. He went to the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons lands. He then went to Koholint Island, and now he is going to come back to Hyrule and have a whole new adventure in the exact same land. That seems like a bit much for just one Link, but it turns out no, this is not a direct sequel after all. It involves a completely separate Link, you know, a century or something after A Link to the Past, so that makes a little more sense to me, and I don't mind it one bit. I'm still super excited for the game, maybe even more so now, actually. In a different interview, he said something else interesting about A Link Between Worlds. Mr. Aonuma said that, well, maybe it wasn't about A Link Between Worlds, it's still very unclear to me, but he said in future Zeldas, that the concept of items and how you use them and such is going to change pretty dramatically. And in this interview, he drew attention to a demo of A Link Between Worlds that's different from the demo that's out on the show floors that I played. It was like a special demo that was probably a piece of the actual game. And unfortunately, the interviewer didn't go into detail about how him drawing attention to that demo connected. Like, they didn't explain anything. Maybe they weren't allowed to. But, so maybe in A Link Between Worlds, the items will be used differently. Maybe it didn't have anything to do with A Link Between Worlds, and he was talking about Zelda Wii U. We'll just have to wait and see how A Link to the Worlds plays out, A Link Between Worlds plays out. But, I mean, could it be that he's just talking about the meter thing, the magic meter, except now it's purple? It's kind of like a stamina meter now? Is that all he's talking about? I don't think so, but anyways, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. And then speaking of future Zeldas, or maybe even possibly A Link Between Worlds, Mr. Aonuma said that future Zeldas are very likely to feature downloadable content, that he's actively thinking, how can we add that kind of thing to Zelda? He even says, could it be maybe brand new areas to explore? That's exciting, because I didn't really ever think they would go that route. Or he says, you know, maybe just other smaller additions. I feel like A Link Between Worlds is ripe for something like that, because, stay with me here, what I think A Link Between Worlds originally started out as was basically probably a remake of A Link to the Past, because that's something that Mr. Aonuma and Miyamoto were talking about way back during the launch of the 3DS. They were both saying, we would really like to do a remake of A Link to the Past using the 3DS's perspective so that it would give height and depth when you're looking at that top-down sort of experience. And then, instead of a remake, we've got something that's practically a remake, but it's a separate game. So, what if, in the process of this, you know, when they went, oh, well, we really want to use this depth thing, so we'll create stackable layers, and then it will have like a more vertical feel. Oh, well, that changes the game too much. It can't be a remake. Now it's like a different game. Okay, well, now it's a sequel. Well, what if they still had the data from when they were working on it as just a remake of A Link to the Past? That means they could then offer that as DLC. We could still get A Link to the Past remake without angering people that all this is A Link to the Past remake, because it would just be DLC using that same engine from A Link Between Worlds. I think that would be a brilliant idea. I hope that I'm not being too fantasist about that, but anyways, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned tomorrow for more Zelda news. See you then.